Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Exceptional Stories and the People Who Live Them. This is a faith-based, in-depth conversation-style podcast with and for parents of special needs children. Each episode will feature parents of special needs kids who are making a difference. Every day, these superstar parents tackle the ups and downs of life. This podcast will let you have a front row seat to hear how they do it, why they do it, and what you can learn from their experiences as they share their exceptional stories. Let's get started. We interrupt this podcast to bring you this special news bulletin. Did you know that for as little as $3 a month, you can be an active supporter of this podcast? Go to the show's website at www.exceptionalstoriespodcast.com and click the support button on the home screen. That website again is www.exceptionalstoriespodcast.com. Click the support button on the home screen and enter your support today. We will now join the podcast already in progress. In today's episode, we're honored to introduce you to Sherry Brown, a remarkable mother with an extraordinary story to share. Meet Gemma, Sherry's vivacious 12-year-old daughter, a true firecracker who has been defying the odds since birth. Gemma was diagnosed with Down syndrome, a condition that, as you may know, results in an extra chromosome, specifically chromosome 21. But here's the incredible part. She's never let that extra chromosome define her limits. Before we dive into Sherry's journey as a mother and caregiver, let's shed some light on Down syndrome. It's a condition that affects 1 in every 792 live births, with approximately 6,000 new cases each year. The statistics reveal a profound increase in diagnosis from 1979 to 2003, highlighting the importance of awareness and support. During our conversation with Sherry, we will explore the challenges, joys, triumphs that come with raising a child with Down syndrome, and we'll also learn about their shared passion involving horses and special needs kids and how they're making a meaningful impact. So stay tuned for a heartwarming and inspiring discussion that underscores the resilience of the human spirit. You will not want to miss this. My guest today is Sherry Brown, and we'll be talking about her 12-year-old daughter, Gemma. I first met them several years ago, and immediately I fell in love with Gemma. She's such a sweetheart. Then we moved away for a few years later, and I had to keep up with Gemma and her journey via Sherry's social media. So that's how I've been tracking them the last few years. But recently, Sherry and I reconnected, and she agreed to be a guest on the podcast and tell her exceptional story. So, Sherry, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I've been looking forward to this, and we finally made it work.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, I've kind of set the table here a little bit with Gemma. I had to text you just a minute ago before we started recording so you could tell me how old she was. I had forgotten. And then when you told me how old she is, I felt old all of a sudden.
It goes by quickly.
It does. It does. Tell us just briefly, if you can, here in the first moments of the podcast, tell us about Gemma. Tell us about her life and diagnosis, and kind of get us up to date with what's going on with her, if you would.
Okay. Gemma is 12 years old. She was born with Down syndrome. And Down syndrome is a condition in which a person has an extra chromosome or an extra piece of chromosome. A lot of times that changes the body and the brain development. So you have physical and mental challenges during the lifetime. And The severity of it is different for each individual. Gemma has a mild case, if you choose to say it like that.
Okay.
So during my pregnancy, though, she did not, her measurements and things like that, and her sonograms and stuff did not indicate that she had Down syndrome. So when she was born, they kind of took her out, and I kept wondering where she was at, why they wouldn't let me see her. And then they told me that she had Down syndrome. Well,
Okay.
of course, I just thought my world was turned upside down. However,
Absolutely.
I did not know the many blessings that she would be bringing me. And of course, the Lord knows exactly what we need and the times that we need it. And that's exactly what I got. So, Gemma is a very sassy, independent, yes.
Say it isn't so.
Yes. So she is very self-sufficient. She does everything for herself. The majority of the time, she is intellectually delayed. So we have progress of the learning with her, but she doesn't have a lot of the characteristics that some Down syndrome children have. So they told me at birth, when we did genetic testing after she was born, that she would never have a sense of humor. She would never be able to do for herself. And so they just wanted me to expect that. Well, boy, were they wrong, because she's all the time playing pranks on somebody and thinking it's the funniest thing when she gets her mama.
Yeah.
So, and she's all the time, doing for herself and just her own independent individual.
Okay. Let's just for a second here, let's go back to, you said as soon as she was born, they realized that there was a problem, there was an issue there. And that's when you first heard anything about there being any type of problem at all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then a few months later, you actually had her tested, and all of that was confirmed.
All that was confirmed.
Put me, not 12 years later, but in that moment, put me in your mindset. What's going through your mind when they say, yes, Gemma does have Down syndrome?
I did not know what to think. My heart was broken because I did not have a perfect baby. And they, tell you that these all the bad things, So I'm just thinking, this is not gonna, what kind of life is she gonna have? How am I going to fit into this role? How am I going to be able to accept it? How is my family and my friends going to be able to accept something that's so different?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, Exceptional Stories family. We've got something very exciting to share. We want to put the spotlight on you. If you're a special needs parent or caregiver, we want to hear your questions for an upcoming Q&A episode. Send in your questions via email to exceptionalstoriespodcast@gmail.com or leave us a 90-second voice message at speakpipe.com/exceptionalstoriespodcast. We're diving deep into the most common pain points faced by special needs parents, and your input will shape this crucial conversation. I can't wait to hear from you. Let's make this Q&A episode truly exceptional.
Are there any other Down syndrome in your family?
No, sir.
So she was the first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you found out that she does have the Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And take us a few years later. What some of you said she's pretty self-sufficient. What are some of the challenges that she does have?
Some of the challenges that she has, the main challenge that I see is communication. Now, her speech is not as good. However, if you are around her, you will eventually get what she is trying to tell you, because she is very persistent in making you understand.
She can communicate.
She can, yes, but her speech is not as good. So we have speech quite frequently. She's very that's the main thing that is her problem, because she's not dependent on me to get herself dressed. She washes her hair. She gets herself dressed. She can even, cook a few things. And so she rides horses. She's into gymnastics. She takes piano lessons. So she's doing all of those things that keep her muscle tone tough and keep it going, since we don't do OT and PT anymore.
Right. Okay. So the only ongoing therapy she's getting right now is the speech.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Well, that for I know several parents of Down syndrome children, and that sounds more like the exception than the rule, because a lot of them have a lot of challenges.
Yes, and she doesn't have any health issues. A lot of Down syndrome children have a heart condition. Now she does have a couple of heart murmurs, but they are so tiny that there's nothing worth going in to do a surgery to repair that. So we do have a cardiologist visit once a year. So her hearing, of course, is not as good, but that little stinker will not wear no dang hearing aids. So, what do? You kind of pick your battles,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, she's in school. Is that right?
She is. And she had been in a gen ed class up until this year. And this year, the Lord has opened doors for her to attend the Helen Keller School in Talladega.
Oh, awesome.
So it is working out really, really well. The opportunities for her at the Helen Keller School are far greater than any public school can offer her.
That's their specialty. That's what they specialize in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and my oldest son, is autistic on the Asperger's spectrum, and he actually lived down there on campus for a while as part of their program, doing not necessarily therapy, but like on the job training type stuff to get him ready to possibly be on his own or be more self-sufficient in the situation that he's in. And he graduated high school before that happened. He did not get much or any of that in high school. It was all, just basic courses to get them graduated. But what specific things is she getting at Helen Keller that this time last year she was not getting in just a general education class?
Well, Gemma it uses a lamp speech device, which is like it's an iPad with a speech app on there that's really in depth, and she uses it every day at Helen Keller now. They are up to date on technology for her, and so she is her and she's just been started like a week, but she's already being for the very first time accepted by everyone. And that makes a mama's heart feel really good.
It does.
So
it does. It's hard. Speaking from experience, it's hard to drop that baby off and leave them for any extended period of time. And for lack of a better word, trust somebody with them.
Absolutely.
For that time, because up to that point you have been 100% caregiver, you've been 100% everything, and now you've got to share that with somebody, and that's not always
hard.
easy.
Very
but
hard.
You're saying they make that environment easier on you to be able to do that.
Yes, and she genuinely loves it, and the classes are smaller. She gets more one-on-one academic structure from her teacher and an aide compared to sitting in a classroom with bigger classes and stuff. So the maximum class in Gemma's room is 6.
Okay. And she gets I guess, regular, just general education courses while she's there?
She does.
Like she would get in a regular school, but it's got the addition of the extra stuff that she needs.
Yes. And
Okay.
they are more equipped to know why she thinks the way she does, why she acts sometimes the way she acts or don't act, and things. And they can relate to that because they've done, in-depth study on those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that we have resources like that.
Yes, sir.
Because being a parent is hard enough.
Yes.
just being responsible for that little life is hard enough.
Yes.
But then when you add medical challenges and physical challenges and everything else on top of that, it takes a toll. So anytime you can find a good resource like that, we encourage people to do that.
Yes.
It's amazing how much of a load that takes off you, but yet she's getting exactly what she needs.
Yes, and it has always been my goal for her. I don't want her to depend on somebody else. I want her to make changes for her. Now, will she probably always need help? Probably so. Okay. But don't tell her she can't come in here and make dog treats, because she's probably going to show you she can. She actually helps me out in my business, washes and dries dogs and loves it.
How about that? Okay. Yeah. We're going to talk about something here in a little bit that she has a connection with animals.
She does. Yes.
And they love her, and she loves them.
Yes. She can get those dogs to do anything she wants them to do.
Mm-hmm. I wish I'd have known that when our dog was around. We had a Labrador mix dog. I rescued him when he was about 6 months old, and he passed away New Year's Eve last year. But had him for 13 years, and he was as stubborn as they come. And for him to have as much lab in him, he hated water.
Wow.
But I bet Gemma could have got him to take a bath, probably.
She would have sure tried, that's for sure.
She wouldn't have had to drag him in there by a leash like we had to. Oh, me. Let me ask you this. What are, since you've been this has been your life for the last 12 years or so, what are some specific misconceptions or stereotypes that you've faced with Gemma and her Down syndrome diagnosis? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Just the and I say negative, things that the doctors would tell you, and they were just trying to prepare you, I'm sure, but little did they.
Well, they've got a job to do, but sometimes in doing their job, they're not given a whole lot of hope.
They're not. But little did they know that I know the greatest physician, and I'm not very easily intimidated by a challenge. And so can't is not in our vocabulary.
I like that. How has raising a special needs child impacted your family dynamic and your daily routine?
At first, it was more of a challenge now, but as you have known, Gemma, for many years, we just run by the seat of our pants. We can't do something. Nope. We're going to do it. And I just throw her into any and everything. I take her everywhere. I don't leave her behind on things, so I guess I've just thrown her in and guided her, and everybody has just, I say the majority of people have just accepted her, the way she is.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I hear her working with a dog, her dog working in the background.
Yeah, she's not quite home yet, but they're waiting on her to come in to play.
Well, they know it's about time.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this would be a good spot for us to take a break. When we come back, I want you to, you and I have briefly talked about this, but I want you to tell the folks what Gemma's involved in and how amazing it is that she's involved in this particular activity. Will you do that for me?
I will.
Okay, all right. We'll be back in just a few seconds, but stay tuned for more exceptional stories and the people who live them.
Hey, everyone. I want to take just a moment to express my deep appreciation for your continued support and engagement with the Exceptional Stories podcast. Your feedback means the world to us. If you've been enjoying our show, can I ask for your help in leaving us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you use to listen to the show? It would truly make a difference for us if you would do that. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast journey.
All right, we are back with this edition of Exceptional Stories and the people who live them. I have with me my guest, Sherry Brown. She's been telling us about Gemma, her 12-year-old daughter, born with Down syndrome, but buddy, it has not slowed her down. They have made adjustments and made adaptations along the way, and Gemma is doing good, and she has just fallen right into the daily routine. Now, before we went to break, Sherry, I kind of teased that Gemma is involved in something that I wanted the folks to know about. There may be some parents out there of special needs kids, or maybe even specifically Down syndrome children, that could take advantage of this resource. So if you would tell us about Sassy Tales. What in the world is that, and how does it work?
Well, several years ago, I've always wanted to do something with horses and special needs children. So when I was blessed to have one of my own, that just gets the ball rolling for other ideas to pop in my head. And
Sure.
So we were coming back from a trip, and I was all the time calling Gemma Miss Sassy Pants, so though anyway, I thought, well, that would be a perfect name for a little organization. So that's how the name Sassy Tales got its name.
Okay.
And it is an organization or an outreach program with horses and special needs children and adults. Now,
okay.
That was started a few years ago, and we have been blessed, and it has grown. And what it does is we have different events throughout the year, mostly in the spring and in the fall. And what we do is we ride at Camp McClellan over there in Anniston, and we just provide those children or those adults with just a ride. Because if a child rides a horse and they are walking, that mimics the walking and stuff mimics what their stride as they are walking, which helps develop core muscles, helps strengthen your core muscles, which is excellent, especially for children with Down syndrome, because they have what they call low muscle tone. Yes. Now, it is also a good thing, especially like with other children as well, because a horse accepts the child or adult just as they are. They do not care if they can talk. They don't care what color they are. They don't care if they can walk. They have that acceptance with another species, and they just form an unbelievable friendship there, a bond. So, and just being around the horses and relaxing on the horses, it relaxes the person, it relaxes the horse, and it's just a win-win for everyone. And so we get together, and we have developed what is called a sensory trail. A sensory trail is a trail that adapts to all of your senses: sight,
Mm-hmm.
smell, seeing, touch, taste, it doesn't matter. And on that trail, we have different things. And it's pretty long. So you get to enjoy those senses that you might not get to enjoy at another time. So, for instance, if a child is blind, they can still enjoy the touch of things, and they can enjoy the sounds of things, and even the taste. We've even got different, like blueberry bushes planted along the way, so they can actually stop and taste something.
Okay. Now, do you have volunteers that help you do that? Help work?
I do. We are based on a volunteer basis. So we have some awesome members who bring their horses and just make a day of it. And in that time, I have other activities while the children are having to wait for their turn to ride. Like they can ride in the wagon. Most all the kids love the wagon, and they'll just ride around camp, and till it's their turn to ride. I always have a craft. A lady does a craft for me, and we have we paint the horse, we brush the horse, we even dress up the horse. So these are some really exceptional horses. But they get to do a lot of different things if they choose not to ride. Sometimes the biggest participants are children that has autism. So some of them choose not to ride. They just want to pet the horse or brush them, and that gives them a sense of connection, to that horse without having to actually be on it.
Yeah. Have you had? You said you do it a couple times a year. Have you had kids come back and do it again?
Oh, yes, sir. We do. We actually try to do this probably about 5 or 6 times a year.
Okay.
Now, yes, we have a lot of repeat kids that come back to us.
Do you see a difference when they come back?
Oh, they are so excited. Yes.
Are they?
Yes, they are so excited. The most that we have ever had was like 22.
Wow.
So, in this next time, we have actually reached out to Rainbow Omega for them to bring their adults down there.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so they may not ride, but however, they get to experience the wagon ride or a craft, or even painting the horse. All the kids love painting, and they love it when they can paint the horse.
Oh yeah, that's big time, isn't it?
Yes, paint gets everywhere.
Yeah. For those of you listening that are not familiar with Rainbow Omega, they are a resident home here in the central Alabama area, east central Alabama area, for developmentally challenged, intellectually challenged individuals. A lot of them are adults. I think most of them are adults.
They are.
But they provide work for them and stuff like that. So that just to get everybody caught up on that. So how has this helped Gemma doing this Sassy Tales? Has it? I'm not sure how I want to ask this question because I hadn't thought about it. But how has being? I'm sure she's involved with the program.
Absolutely.
Not only writing, but is she doing stuff to facilitate the program as well?
You would think that she runs that facility down there.
It's named after her, after all. I mean, come on.
I mean, she helps when we need to tack up a horse. She goes and gets the tack, and she helps tack up. She helps clean up. She helps other children who might be a little bit scared. She helps ensure them and helps hold their hand and assure them that it's going to be fun. So sometimes she's even been known to even clean out the stalls. So you just never know where you might find her.
She's not afraid of anything, is she?
She's not afraid of anything. Doesn't meet any strangers.
Yeah. Well, I need to meet her again. I need to see her again. She was small when I first met her, and she probably does not remember me, but
Oh, yes, she does.
one of these days, I am going to show up, and I'm going to get me a hug from that little sassy tail. Is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, well, she still
Yeah.
sees yours and Miss Metha's picture on social media, so she
Okay.
knows you.
Okay. All right. Well, tell her I still love her, and I'm proud of her, and
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to see her in that environment. I bet that
Well,
does Mama's heart good, doesn't it?
our next event is September the 9th, starting
Okay.
at 9 o'clock, and it's at Camp
Okay.
McClellan over in Calhoun, Alabama, Calhoun County.
Okay.
Mhm.
When we're done, if you don't mind, send me that information, email it to me,
Okay.
and I will put it in the show notes for this episode, and folks can know how to find out more information about that, or do
Yes.
something with it.
That
Yeah,
would
we'll
be
definitely
great.
do that.
Yes.
Yep. Let me ask you this: as a special needs parent, what advice or suggestions would you give to other parents who are also raising special needs children in this day and age?
I think that teaching them to live in this crazy world is scary. But I think if we do not teach them somewhat to learn to live in this crazy world, I think that's a mistake. I don't think we should hide them in the house. I think we should expose them and tell their story. They are a wonderful blessing that is just waiting, to spread their
Yeah.
wings and fly.
Yeah.
Teach them to do things that you were told or didn't think they could do.
Yeah. When our oldest son was born, he had some issues, spent about a month in the hospital before we was actually able to bring him home. Later was found out that he was autistic. But when those doctors were breaking the news to us of, what to expect, like you talked about a while ago, this was 27 years ago. And they actually sat down with a 3-ring binder with pictures of deformed children and just gruesome pictures that you wouldn't be able to show on TV. You wouldn't be able to, if it was a movie, it would probably be a PG-13 or an R-rated, just because of the graphic pictures they were showing. And they were telling us this is what you have to look forward to. And I cannot count the amount of times that I would love to go back and find those doctors and just sit them down in a chair and say, buddy, you missed this one.
Absolutely.
You were way off target on this one.
Exactly. Me too. I don't ever remember when Gemma was born and we found out she had Down syndrome. I was holding her and I told her then, I said, we are in this together. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. The good Lord does know what he's doing. And we just got to put our trust there. And that's what we've done.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for coming on here. We could spend 2 hours talking about her and swapping stories back and forth. But I know you have a hectic schedule and life is not easy all the time. But I do appreciate you making time to come on here and just share your story and share Gemma's story. And not all stories are doom and gloom.
No, sir.
There's some parents out there of some really special kids that really have a bleak outlook.
Yes.
But and we're going to share those stories too. But when I know somebody that was facing a challenge like this, and through faith and through determination and through just, like you said, can't is not in the vocabulary. When I know folks like that, I want to share those stories too, to give people hope.
Yes. Yes.
And boost them up. I mean, it is a hard job. It is a hard job to be a parent of a special needs child. All days are not sunshine and roses. There's days where attitudes clash. There's days where just things are off the chart. But I want to thank you for coming on and sharing y'all's story with us. And one of these days, I might have to get Gemma on here. We might have to get her to do a cameo and just see what we can do with that.
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you, that girl is about like her mama. She likes to talk. Now I kid you not.
I will back out of the way and let her have it. No doubt about it. Oh, well, Sherry, thank you so much for coming on. It was good to reconnect with you, and I hope to get down there and see about some sassy tales sometime. Maybe I'll have to take that in. And
we would love to have you.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I appreciate it. I hope y'all continue to do well, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay?
I will, and tell the family I said hello.
We'll do it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Before we go, I want to thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. If you are the parent of a special needs child and wish to share your story with us, or if you know someone we should talk with on the show, please send an email to exceptionalstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've been enjoying our show, we would love to hear your feedback. If you could, take a minute, leave us a 5-star rating on your preferred podcast platform. It would really mean the world to us if you did. Your rating helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you quality content. I also want to invite you to follow us on our social media pages. You can find us on both Facebook and on Instagram at Exceptional Stories Podcast. Lastly, if you found this podcast informative and would like to keep it going, go to our webpage at www.exceptionalstoriespodcast.com and click on the support button on our homepage. For as little as $3 a month, you can play an active role in making sure these stories are heard. Thank you for choosing to spend your precious time with us today. Remember, you're not alone. Together, we will create a world that will embrace and support every exceptional story. Until next week, be blessed.